All right. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we've got a fun little lineup. We've got Tyler here from MORRFlate, and of course, Tyler and Doug from BroncBuster. And we've got a few things going on, and we're looking forward to be talking about it. I guess first to update you on everything, we are headed out, well, at least myself, Grayson, and Heidi are headed out tomorrow to see some of you guys out in Tennessee. So we've got a lot of work to do. We're probably going to be pulling an all-nighter to get everything ready. We had a few developments that we're going to talk about tonight that kind of happened over the weekend.
It's been an exciting last 5 days or so.
It has. I kind of kept it quiet on social media because I got a whole video about it, but we're gonna reveal the beginnings of that tonight. Before we get into those details, while we're waiting on some others to join us, though, let's talk about real quick. Of course, we're going to get into introductions of Tyler. So Tyler, hang tight. But first, let's talk about our charity event that's coming up.
Wheeling for a Cause, October 12th through 15th. So that's only 2 months away. So if you are planning on attending, now's the time to pull the trigger and get that RV spot if you need it. We got 30 amp, 50 amp. We got cabins available for anybody. And of course, all the primitive camping that you could possibly want. And it looks like the temperatures are going to be fantastic.
Should be nice weather. Hopefully we get some rain by then. It's a little dry, but we are looking forward to that. Of course, if you're new joining us, this is Wheeling for a Cause. We help the disadvantaged veterans that are mobility challenged.
Yep.
And we had a great turnout last year. We were able to raise a significant amount of funds and also provide a off-road wheelchair that
go anywhere wheelchair. Yeah, and I encourage y'all, especially if it's your first year, go to wheelingforacause.org. Check out the tab What Happened and look at the awesome story that happened last year with TJ and all the awesome Bronco and some Jeep guys that were there. I mean, we had a whole mix of 4x4 people who donated their time and their money and the raffle. And
of course, we had a guitar last year from Ted Nugent.
And we're going to have some other awesome keepsakes for this year. We're going above and beyond, so you want to be part of that.
Yeah. We're going to have some good 101 courses, guys that just getting their Broncos out for the first time and want to understand how they work and get to know it. So looking forward to that. That's coming up here real soon. So like Doug said,
wheelingforacause.org, October 12th through the 15th. Get in there now, get your reservations, get your raffle tickets, get your range pass, and you're good to go.
So again, before we get in with Tyler with MORRFlate, I want to just kind of update you where we've been the last couple of weeks. As a lot of you know, we've been very, very involved in not only installing a lot of portals, but going out and heavily testing them. And, everybody knows I live up to my name as the BroncBuster. And, I've had different people say, well, are you really giving them the test? And I can tell you, yes, we have. And we have a video releasing tomorrow that will show some more of the trails and testing we've done. Terry's on here. Hey, Terry. Terry's actually been out there with us, and I haven't even told Terry about this story yet because we went out last Thursday to Hidden Falls, and I was following Jesse. Terry was coming along with us with his portals on his Bronco that we just put on, and we were giving it the beans a few times and take off, leave there, drive home. At this point, I'm getting over 3,000 miles on the set of portals. I'm driving it everywhere. I mean, we take it to church. We take it to, everywhere we go, we're putting the test to these. We'll go out off-road, we drive it home. Unlike what I've done with BroncBuster is our experiment of different things, and I trailered it everywhere because, we were looking to see what we could break. Well, pretty confident we're not going to break stuff on this, so I've been driving it everywhere. Having said that, update, we did break. Now it's not what you think.
You were driving home.
So I'm gonna show you guys a couple things here because I think you'll find this interesting. Now, the story is going to be in more depth on our video releasing tomorrow. But as I'm gonna kind of lay it out. I'm in Houston. I'm meeting with a couple of people, meeting with one of our gear manufacturers, looking at moving our manufacturing of the portals here. I'm leaving, heading home. It's late in the afternoon. Grayson's with me. I'm actually on the phone with Talon. If you guys have ever met Talon or know who he is, he works with us up in Idaho. works with Bracken Machine and helps getting stuff out and down to us. Well, you guys know of our newest part, which is the diff housing. So this is what it looks like, and this is the picture they sent me that day of, okay, we're shipping these out so we can get them orders fulfilled and get them to you. And I said, great. I had called Talon. I was driving down the road. Highway, it's Interstate 59 or whatever it is, going about 80 miles an hour, following the flow of traffic. And all of a sudden, just this loud noise and things are just coming undone. I'm kind of freaking out a little bit in my head because, well, first off, I'm just reacting because, one time everything wants to steer to one side and then everything's going to the other side. And I get it under control. I get the vehicle, through 4 or 5 lanes of traffic. I exit, and kind of the funny part is where we exited and parked it was at an insane asylum, or not. I don't know, not an insane asylum, but it was a
mental institution.
Mental institute
of recovery.
I don't know if there's something to this, but we're sitting there, and at this point, I'm like, okay, I crawl underneath the Bronco to find this. My broken differential tube. Now, as you see on there, as I'm showing, you can see the dark stuff around kind of the inner part, and then it's lighter aluminum towards the outer part. And what I determined was basically I broke it somewhere else. Either I broke it at Hidden Falls out there with Terry and with Jesse and doing the buggy lines, following the buggy up some of these things, or I broke it, previous to that. I'm pretty sure I broke it that day previous. But it didn't break completely. Now, prior to this experience, I've been telling everybody, yes, I think this is something that really look at if you're not going to do an Ultimate 44 in the front and you want to keep your stock M210, the weak point is that shaft. We don't see failures elsewhere. Well, what happened is once that broke, it caused the entire differential to shift. And as that shifted, it broke a ring gear and a ring or pinion, something, a tooth broke off. And now doing 80 miles an hour, it just turned into a soup bowl in there. I mean, it just that's what was causing all that jerking and back and forth. So I guess my warning is, or my caution is, definitely look for that. I'm not saying you got to run out and jump in and grab a new differential tube, although they are available now. We're shipping them out tomorrow once they get here. That's another story, but I need them before I head to Tennessee also. So I'm waiting on them. In order to get to Tennessee, I actually got to put my M190 back in because all the differentials I have sitting out in the boneyard are all missing a tube, surprisingly. We broke several of them. Anyway, so just keep an eye on that. I'm going to say you get done wheeling, check for cracks, because it scared me. It gave me a good scare of what could happen going those kind of speeds and that tube breaking. So I can't write this story if I tried. I promise you this is not staged. This is not made up. It just happened all kind of, I don't know, things like that happen in my life, I guess. Anyways, all right. Now I look forward to jumping into a subject that is kind of a fun one. We all go out on the trail, and every time we go out on the trail, we have to do what? Air up, air down.
Air down and air up.
With that, I'm going to let Tyler introduce himself and kind of tell us a little bit about who he is and what he does.
Thanks, Tyler. I'm the owner of MORRFlate, multi-tire inflation deflation kits, air management systems for off-roading. I'm the biggest thing of kind of like how we got into where we are, this space that we're in, was that I'm 6'4", and squatting down at tires, doing one tire at a time, doesn't work very well. My knees don't like it. My back doesn't like it. I can't get up afterwards. I get stuck down there. So I was like, God, there has to be something better out there. And nobody was making anything commercially. It was really kind of disappointing. So I went around and looked for different ways to do this, and found a couple of DIY designs, but they all kind of sucked. They didn't have good fittings. They didn't have good parts. They didn't have good hoses. They were, they had parts that poked you and cut you. And I was like, why would anybody make a hose system that out of these parts when you're going to be going up and off-roading 2, 3, 4, 5 times a month, whatever it is. And so I was like, we need something that's not going to kill me while I'm using it. But also something that's going to allow me to, not have to squat at tires anymore. And so started off with a prototype, I don't know, back in 2014, 2015, something like that, and found different parts, different ways to do stuff, learned a lot about pneumatics and air systems along the way. And eventually in 2019, we kind of found a formula that worked really well, that I was happy with, that didn't have a ton of wearable parts. So there's no planned obsolescence, and something that I would feel good about offering out to the world. And so I had people right around the second half of 2017, beginning of 2018, friends were asking me to make them. Club members in my off-roading clubs were asking for some. I was like, yeah, sure. I got my parts list. Just, pay for the parts and I'll make one for you. No worries. And then kind of near the end of 2018, I was like, there could be something to this. It is faster to air up and air down with a 4-tire system than a single doing 1 tire at a time. Yep. But what really is the big benefit is the convenience of doing it 4 tires at a time. And you can use the same tool for both airing up and airing down. And it equalizes everything. So it keeps everything nice and equalized for you. So you don't have to worry about, I was out on the Rubicon. I live 2 hours from the Rubicon trailhead and an hour and 15 minutes from Fordyce up here in Northern California. So I'm out there quite a bit up in the Sierras. I'm usually, like I said, 2-3 times a month. This year is an exception because my rig is getting completely redone. But I was out at the Rubicon and there was a couple of guys airing down near the kiosk at the spillway for Loon Lake entrance. And the guy went down way too far, dumped all the air out of his tire, out of the 1 tire, and then he had to pull his buddy's compressor out, hook it up to his 1 tire, and get it back up. Well, he overfilled it then, and then had to air it back down to get it down to where his other 3 tires were. And I'm just sitting over at the side, and I'm like, I hate bugging people. I don't want to be that guy that goes like, "Oh, what the hell are you guys doing?" Like there's
a better way here. Yeah,
don't fight this. But I walked up and I was like, hey guys, I just watched that whole thing happen and here's my card. Shoot me an email, give me a call, and I'm going to give you 30% off a kit because that was painful to watch. And they immediately were like, do you work for MORRFlate then? And I was like, yeah, I'm the owner. And they were like, no way. I've actually been wanting to get one of these for a long time because of this exact reason right here. So it was fun to kind of see that happen and unfold, and meet those guys and talk to those guys out on a trail. So really what it comes down to is we're trying to get rid of that pain point of airing up and airing down every single time you leave pavement. I've been going to a lot of off-road shows over the past year, 2 years, 3 years. And the number one thing that I hear from people is, I just don't air down. And I'm like, what? Why don't you air down? Why would you put your body into that? Yeah, why would you put your kidneys under that much stress going down these washboard roads on street pressures? And they're just like, well, there's no good way to do it. It just sucks. It's a terrible experience. It takes half an hour to do each time. And then when I air back up, it takes half an hour, 40 minutes to air back up. And, my wife and kids are yelling at me and they don't want to come out wheeling anymore. And I'm like, what if I can get that down under 10 minutes for you every single time, like clockwork? What if I can get that under 5 minutes for you and have it be something as convenient as literally just standing back and talking to your buddies or making nachos or tacos or going fishing, whatever it is? What if we could do that and get rid of those pain points of airing up and down and make it enjoyable to go off-roading, and you're not having to go through the crappy part of off-roading, which is airing up and down for, an hour and a half of your day. So that's really what it came down to with the genesis of the company and where it all has been going from there. Since we did the 4-tire system, we learned something that kind of I had not planned on at all whatsoever, was that your tire's valve stems can only move about 2 CFM of airflow through a singular valve stem. It's called a Schrader valve. And with that valve core inside the Schrader valve, it's a 1/16th of an inch inside diameter orifice, maybe smaller. So you're really limited to about 2, maybe 2.5 CFM if you're pushing with a lot of pressure, like a CO2 tank or something. And so if you're using compressors that push more than 2 CFM, so say your Smitty built compressors that are 5.5 CFM, a twin ARB that's 6.2 CFM, you're not really getting any extra benefit from the other 4 CFM of a twin ARB. You're maxing out the capacity at 2.
And you're overheating it.
And you're overheating it.
A lot of heat, which in my experience on a lot of the other systems blows that hose out, because once it gets to a certain temperature, the hose just goes bye-bye, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, and a lot of that heat is generated because you're building up a back pressure between your tire's valve stem and the compressor. Right. And so you're not exactly deadheading the compressor cylinders, but it's a very similar effect. So it makes the motors run a lot harder, which pulls more amperage. The more amperage you're pulling, the more heat's created. The more that the cylinders are working, the more the heat is created. So you get people that after a year, 2 years, they're blowing out gaskets and seals and seizing up motors in their compressors. It's usually because they're overworking the compressor by trying to run 1 tire at a time. That was something I had no idea of starting this whole project, starting this business. It was something we figured out about maybe a year into it as we were approaching the end of 2019. And so we started looking into compressors and really telling people and helping educate people that if you want your $700 twin ARB to live and last, get this little $200 hose kit. And it'll last 3, 4, 5 times as long as what it would just doing 1 tire at a time, because you're helping alleviate a lot of that stress on the compressor. So then when we realized, well, hold on, if each tire's valve stem is 2 to 2.5 CFM capacity, then really once we're hooking up 4 tires at a time, we can actually run compressors at 8 to 10.5 CFM is kind of pushing it. But really kind of 8 to 10 is the sweet spot for your usable capacity of airflow for off-road tires. And because you're very rarely going to be off-roading with more than 4 tires or less than 4 tires in the world that we live in, right? So we ended up finding and developing and working with factory to design and engineer a compressor that could do right around that 10 CFM point. And do some cool things to it that we thought compressors should have that a lot of compressors don't have. A pressure cutoff switch, longer hose for better heat dissipation, American standard fittings, threaded filter caps so you can mount the compressors any which direction, oilless compressors so you can do that as well. Better carrying bags, better quality, something that's not going to blow out on you super quick. And so we were working on this compressor. And then we launched a kind of a pre-production compressor at the exact same time that Napa launched their MaxiTrack compressors, which are a huge hit, right? They're because they put out so much airflow and they do awesome. You just have to run them 4 tires at a time, or they like to blow themselves up. So once we saw that Napa went big on that launch, we decided to go back to the drawing board and implement a lot of the small things that we really wanted to implement before we went into the full production. And so it took us another 1.5 to 2 years to get all of that implemented. And then we came out with our first platform of the 10.6 compressor, the regular one. And that one has been phenomenal. Again, as long as you run it 4 tires at a time. So you can still air up a single tire to like fix a flat if you want to. But really what you should be doing is, because the hoses, when you hook up all 4 tires, they equalize all 4 of your tires at the same time. You can take your 3 tires that have 40 PSI, your 1 tire with no PSI, hook them all up together, and you'll average out to around, I want to say it's around 25 PSI in all 4 tires then. And then all you do is air up those 4 tires back up to your 40. And then the compressor works a lot more efficient. It'll actually do that quicker going 25 to 40 than taking 1 tire 0 to 40.
Exactly.
So,
well, I do got to put one thing in here though. So here's what I've learned. You talk about it making it quicker, which my experience is I spend more time because everybody wants to use wants me to air up and air down for them. So now I'm going, Doug, right?
I need you to bring one to the Rubicon because he's so sick of me stealing his.
I just need to get Doug one. No, but it's phenomenal as far as, and I throw it in the back, and I used it over and over and over and over and over again. It's been through a couple of rollovers. It's been tossed out of the Bronco and out in the boonies in those rollovers, and I throw it back in and keep using it. So the quality is definitely great. Now, I guess what got you into this? Whatever said, okay, I want to now go out and get into airing up tires?
Yeah, good question. So my background, a lot of my life has been in business and stuff, mainly in the tennis industry. I'm 35 years old, and I think from the time I was 21, I was working in the tennis industry. And so I actually worked for Wilson Racket Sports as a sales rep here in NorCal. That's the W on the shirt. And so I did that for 10, 11 years, something like that. That would have been, I think that's about right. Because in 2021, in August, is when I finally was able to quit my day job and really focus on being in the off-road industry and being a part of the off-road industry and having a business in the off-road industry. I've always kind of been entrepreneurial spirited. I've always tried to find ways growing up to take a skill set that I have, whether it's, building sand castles in the sandbox for other kids and in exchange for like bubble gum or something. I don't know, whatever it would be. I've always been doing that kind of thing. So being able to finally get something and have this idea that I really just came up with to save my knees, because there's a fine line between being extremely lazy and extremely efficient. Yeah. So I like to think I'm more efficient on the efficient side, but being able to take something and get into an industry that I absolutely love. I grew up off-roading down in the Shaver Lake area up outside of Yosemite in Fresno, California. And so with my dad, and so being able to just kind of get back up into the Sierras now that I'm an adult and be a part of what's a really rad industry with vehicular recreation in the outdoor space. I love the outdoors. I love the mountains. I love the high Sierras. The people are freaking awesome. The whole mentality is just, let's get out there and enjoy our vehicles in nature and really enjoy what we have out there that not a whole lot of people get to go out and see and experience. So getting to
it kind of like, for me, it's almost like going back 30 years to what our country used to be like, that sense of community and neighbors knowing each other and talking. And, we have, I feel like this community nationwide of a lot of us, we'll be talking and say, oh yeah, do you know so-and-so? Yeah. Oh, what's his Instagram? Yeah. Oh yeah, I wheeled with him here. Anyways, what I'm saying is that to me, off-roading is bringing back that sense of community and, kind of getting out, getting to know each other and interacting,
spending
time. And, because I believe that most everybody, there are some really bad guys, turds out there, I guess. But most people have, even though we might differ on some views and stuff, most people have good intentions. And I think getting out and getting to know people, especially in the outdoors, is just healthy for our country, really. It's what we need. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on that subject, because I do feel that for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. There's no better way to get to know somebody than sitting around a campfire at nighttime under the stars. There's something about it that brings out the pureness of people and personalities. So I'm a huge fan of doing that. And so any opportunity I get to help other people do that as well is a big priority of mine. So like I'm the current vice president of my off-roading club. I help oversee, I'm in charge of one of the Adopt a Trail sections on the Rubicon Trail. I run, and I'm one of the 3 owners of NorCal 4x4 Rescue, which is all volunteer recovery group on Facebook. We're at about 31,000 people right now. I do, obviously MORRFlate, where really my whole goal is to help get rid of that pain points of off-roading so people can get out there and really enjoy the off-roading and not have to worry about the other crap that comes with the off-roading. So I'm a big people person. And I love meeting the new people. I love taking care of people. And so it's a big priority for me in the company to help us not really establish, but really support the local communities. Like you said, that is so prevalent across the country in this industry. It's really a cool thing. And I don't think there's a whole lot of other industries that you see that much community driven out of. No. And so it's a pretty rad industry, and being able to have a business in it where I can make an impact on community and make an impact on trail advocacy organizations, donating a lot of profits back to trail advocacy stuff. It's a cool position to be in, and being able to offer jobs and paychecks for other people and their livelihoods. It's a cool thing to do, especially just because it's in the off-road industry as well.
Yeah, I mean, me and my wife have this conversation all the time. Every day we love to get up and we're excited about what we do. I may wear her out a little bit. She'll admit that quite readily. And some people ask, how do you do it? I mean, how do you do your schedule? Because I mean, there's oftentimes it's 90 hours a week, and that's not an exaggeration. I mean, 90 hours, and Doug can attest to that. We were out until 11 o'clock last night, up at 5 this morning. Tomorrow morning, we're going to work most of tonight to get ready to head to Tennessee and then drive straight through to Tennessee to load. Anyways, it's a long, but I love it. And I do it because, number one, I felt like in this business with what I'm doing, I've made more of an impact, and I can make more of an impact. We make more of an impact every day than I could in anything else I was doing before. And I love that. I do. I like that sense of purpose. A lot of the guys on here I've wheeled with and are friends. We've gotten to know each other. We've had dinner. I mean, I can pretty much go through the list here and say, I know that guy. I know some of these guys I need to meet still. Hopefully some of the ones
wheeling for a cause.
Wheeling for a cause. That's right. I know some of these guys hopefully are going to be in Tennessee here this weekend and get to meet some that I've never met before. But anyways, I could go on and on and on. And I'm sure you could too, Tyler, because I know, and we're talking ahead of time, you're very involved and want to give back. And that's from day one when I started this business, and then Doug came in and started helping me. That's been one of our focuses too, is how can we use the off-road world to create, bring that community together and then help benefit other people. And people are so giving in this, in the off-road industry. And there's been very few people I've met that I'm like, I just don't like that person at all. Most of them are the keyboard warriors online, but everybody I've met in person, I think, has been just genuine, cool people. So,
yeah, I agree. It's you mentioned it, and I think that we always talk about it. I'm also doing a podcast, No Trail 4x4, with my buddy Jimmy Jett, and we always kind of laugh about it. This is the biggest little industry that there is. Everybody knows each other. And so you definitely get bad apples, but word gets around pretty quick as to who ends up being those bad apples. And the industry seems to do a pretty good job at policing the bad apples for the most part. And kind of just moving them along. And it's a really cool, again, awesome industry to be a part of. And it's filled with some really cool people.
So we've talked about who you are, where you came from, what you do, and now we've been talking here for 6, 7, maybe 8 months. I'm trying to remember how long. And we got back together here about 3 weeks ago, I think it was 4 weeks ago, when we got talking about portals, right? Well, we were talking about MORRFlate, and honestly, the only reason, guys, I don't have the MORRFlate product on my website is I need more hours in a day I need to bring in more inventory. I need more space. And so we're talking about that. Okay, it's time's coming here real soon because I do love the product. Before I will vouch for a product, I really got to go out and use it and see a need. And it is there. Well, we got talking about portals, and it just happened. You were working on what?
Yeah, so I've just in my mind for a very long time, I love portals. I think portals are the fix to a lot of off-road issues. It's a very simple solution, but it's a complex mechanical device. But compared to having to re-gear your axles, put a lift on your vehicle, and all this other stuff, portals are a pretty freaking sweet option and for vehicles. And so I love portals. I love gearing. I'm a gearing nut job. I drive Toyotas simply because I can put 6 transfer cases into them and have 1,000,000 to 1 gear ratios, right? But the cool thing that I've always wanted to do since I started this is, obviously I like convenience, and I'm a big fan of convenience on the trail. And that's why I don't want to squat at my tires anymore to air up and down. What if I never even had to get out of a vehicle to air up and down? How awesome would that be? You look at military vehicles and they've got central tire inflation systems. And I'm like, I've always freaking wanted to do a CTIS because I'm extremely efficient and I don't want to get out of my air-conditioned tinted windowed cab, right?
I'm with you.
Right.
That's why my top never comes off. When my doors stay on, I like my air conditioning. I have to spend way too much time when I'm not in my vehicle working on stuff in the heat. I want to go enjoy my off-roading in the cool. So anyways, yes, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And so I'm like, if we could just air up and down tires and either fully automated or without ever getting out of the vehicle, that would be, I think, the ultimate goal, the ultimate pinnacle of air management systems in the off-road industry. Curry has their way of doing it. They drill all the way through axle shafts to get in there. And it's not, in my opinion, doable for everybody. But if you have something where all you have to do is plug in an airline to a box that you have out at the hub of your wheel, that's pretty freaking rad. And that is doable and certainly attainable by anybody that really can turn a simple wrench, right? So you kind of were like, hey, we're looking at doing these portals here in the United States. And I was like, oh, tell me more. I love portals. And so we started talking a little bit more, and turns out I've been wanting to do a CTIS system for a while. I've been designing it in my head probably for about 2 to 3 years. And you were like, hey, I really want a CTIS system designed for these portals. So I was like, you had me at hello, Tyler. Let's do this.
Right. It was like the conversation, another one of those that just, I don't know, it couldn't have been written a better script. It's like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. That's right. Graham crackers, marshmallows on the chocolate too. So
yeah. So getting into CTIS is something, I've definitely absolutely wanted to do forever. And you've got the stuff to do it and make it really feasible now. So I'm really excited. We've been working on the prototype since you and I spoke, whatever, that 3 to 4 weeks ago. And I really started, because I had it all designed out in my head. It was just a matter of going through the prototype design and testing to make sure that it's a functional prototype. And I am happy, very, very happy to say that as of Thursday last week, we have a functioning prototype and it works awesome.
Awesome. Sweet. Oh man, I can't wait. Sweet. So our goal is hopefully by the time we see some of y'all in Colorado, hopefully we'll have it all on. Now it's a short amount of time. I'm going to be heading to Tennessee. I've got a lot of stuff to do to get ready. Tyler has a lot. He has some people going to be off. Anyways, we're still trying to work out those details. If it's not in time for Colorado, it'll definitely be in time for Wheeling for a Cause. That'll be our next big event that we're going to be at. So coming real soon, we're going to have this on, and we'll be able to show lots of video on how that works. But tell us, what will the cab look like? Kind of paint a picture for us. Are we going to have like this cool digital screen, or what does that look like?
Oh, we're putting in a 22-inch LCD screen into the cab of the Broncos, and you're now. Yeah, we actually have a pretty simple little remote control that you can mount. We're going to start. We're going to buying a 3D printer to be able to 3D print mounts for different vehicles, and so we're going to be able to take that remote control and mount it on your dashboard somewhere, maybe down in your center console. We might even be able to. I'll have to see if there'd be a way to do it. It might be fun to try and find a way to hook it into the auxiliary switches on the Broncos. But there's lots of different ways to mount things in the Bronco. That's kind of one of the cool things about it is Ford did a great job at being able to accessorize the Broncos. We have one here. It's a 2023 Badlands Sasquatch. So 4-door. And so we've been able to get measurements and figure everything out and get everything set and ready to go for these Bronco portals. But we're going to have the option of you can either run it off of the remote control that will come with the kit, which is a simple little remote control, probably a little smaller than your phone, probably about that big. This is a Galaxy 21, I think. So maybe 3/4 of the Galaxy 21 is be the size of the remote. Or you can run an app. So we're developing an app. So you can run it on smart device, phone, tablet, whatever. And eventually we're going to try and get it worked into Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So you can run it from your infotainment.
Really? You can sit there right from your screen. So really that big screen you're talking about being able to run it.
Yeah,
it's already there. We just need it on the app.
Exactly. Right. It's going to be pretty bitchin'. That the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay will be further on down the line, but the app and the remote and getting everything up, that should be done fairly quickly, I believe, for the final production stuff.
Cool.
So we've got that. The really neat thing about doing this is we're setting it up because it's one thing to air up and down all of your tires at the same time and have everything equalize out. It's a completely other thing to be able to control each tire individually.
Ooh, okay.
And so that's the main goal. If we're going to do this, I want to do it right. And we're going to be able to set it up to do your front 2 tires versus your rear 2 tires. So if you're airing back up at the end of the day and your vehicle needs a different pressure front and rear because you have a lot of stuff in your cargo bed on your Bronco, we can do that. Or if you're towing a small camping trailer with the Bronco, we can do that. If you want all 4 at different pressures for some reason because you're going drift racing, I don't know, we can do that. It's going to be really cool the way that it's coming and set up and working out here.
Cool. Well, I tell you, I love it. I think, anybody that knows me, I like doing things outside the box. And so when I met Tyler and saw, hey, he's an outside the box kind of a guy and doing things that nobody else does. In fact, we were talking about this earlier as far as, being that okay, what is a problem? How can we solve it? And what's the best way to do it? And I love that. So
that's like a Vanilla Ice song, I think.
Yeah, we could probably. Doug's going to start singing it for us.
Come on, karaoke time.
Karaoke, that's right. Maybe around the campfire if he's got a few. Well, cool. No, I'm excited. I mean, from the day we started talking, and I'm sitting there thinking, all right, because honestly, my thoughts were, well, I know I have the capability, and I saw myself going and buying one of these systems that for airbags on a truck and putting a tank somewhere and trying to figure all this out. I really don't have time and don't want to do that. And so I'm excited that the guy that is specialized in this and put all the work into, and you've spent a lot of time on perfecting the air compressors, the valving, the right connections, the fittings. And, honestly, I know, and I think most people on here know that have ever hooked up and done anything with these airlines, is there's a better way of doing it. And it's not just as easy as running down to your Harbor Freight and buying a bunch of fittings and throwing something together, right?
Yep. I mean, you can, I always kind of try and put it in the terms of Ultra 4 racing, right? You can go and race a stock class vehicle for $10,000, maybe. That's pushing it. We'll say $20,000 just to be safe. You can go run a $20,000 car at King of the Hammers, or you can run $1 million car through King of the Hammers. Which one do you think is going to have more quality, be a much nicer ride, a much bigger chance of success in what you're looking to do? It's you can go down technically to Harbor Freight and buy everything you need to create a 4-tire system for $70, but you're going to get fittings that are going to stab you and cut you and poke you, and hoses that hold memory and they disintegrate in UV rays and they freeze up in cold temperatures and you can't coil them up and get them back in your vehicle afterwards, and air chucks that wear out over time because the teeth are always engaged. And there's a lot of little tiny decisions that we have made over the course of, God, what year is this? 2023. So 4 years.
4 years.
5 years. That it just, every little thing makes the system that much better. And we're actually debating on starting to do, we're not debating, we are going to, I just haven't figured out when we're going to launch it, because we're having a new website built and I kind of want to wait until that's done before we launch it. But we're looking at doing a trade-in program where you can trade in your DIY kits for credit towards a MORRFlate kit. And then what we want to do is, again, I'm a huge believer in education, doing a lot of podcast stuff, coming on to talk to you guys about air management systems. I really want to take those DIY kits and kind of point out where the parts could be better and what are some of the issues with running a rubber PVC hose from Harbor Freight rather than, a nice no kink, no memory hose that doesn't freeze on you for the system, or what's the benefit of running a 1/4-inch hose versus a 3/8-inch hose. Right. So there's a lot of education I think that can be done, and we're going to give some people some pretty cool discounts towards MORRFlate product to help us do that education. So
I love it. I mean, here's the thing. Airing down, airing up, air compressors might seem like a pretty mundane, okay, who cares type of a subject, but all of us that go out and wheel our Broncos, we deal with it over and over and over again. And, I went from, I've done several different things. And so talking about the good, the bad, whatever.
Well, good, better, best.
Good, better, best. I mean, I used to just take my valve stems out because I'm in a hurry. I want to do it as quick as I can. And it works pretty good, other than sometimes I accidentally screw up that valve stem, or I get sidetracked. Somebody comes along, talks to me, and then I'm that guy that has 2 tires sitting completely flat, and then I'm running, finding the air compressor and airing it back up, or pulling out my power tank, or what, anyways. No, I like being able to just hook up all 4 tires, turn it on, just let the air come out, and check it. Okay, air pressure is good, and it equalizes, and that is important, because the other thing that I found, Tyler, is I'd go to Moab. I'd be in Moab for Easter Jeep Safari or Bronco Safari, one of those, and for 5-6 days we're wheeling, and I just wouldn't air up because it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, we drive into town.
I drive into town at 6-7 psi with my beadlocks. And do that for a week, and guess what? My tires start to suffer from it, right? You start wearing those edges. But that's the reality is nobody wants to do it over and over and over again when it is such a pain in the butt. Yeah. So.
Yep, exactly. And one of the cool things that we just launched was our new PSI Pro compressors. Talk about making airing up easy, super easy. I mean, it was already fairly easy with our regular 10.6 compressors and the quad hoses. We can air up a set of 35-inch tires from 10 PSI to 30 PSI in like 4 minutes. Wow. The new PSI Pro compressors, they have a learning algorithm in them, so you can set your desired pressure and then hit go and then just walk away.
Go have your conversation with Doug or whatever and not forget about it. I mean, because that is the other side is I've set my air compressor and I go off. And I mean, we got off the trail and everybody's talking about how excited they are of the things that they did and exchanging phone numbers, pictures, talking, and you come back and, oh shoot, I just overinflated. Now you're letting air out of the tire. I mean, it does. It solves many problems. And I'm excited about, I'm excited really to have the central air inflation, but that is, I mean, all of these are just great options that I think help our experience to be better because, buying tires is expensive. And I guarantee I went through tires faster when I just not air up at all and just drive them around.
Well, and when I was learning, I would see these people, they put out their compressor and they'd be pumping up and then they'd have to turn them off for 15, 20 minutes because they didn't have the size correct. They'd have to turn it back on. And
especially 40-inch tires. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd go out like last year about this time we went and did an overlanding trip and I had Talon with us and we were both of our Broncos on 40-inch tires and we were sharing one compressor. Guess what?
Takes forever.
It took forever because that same problem, airing up 40s, we would get going and either two things would happen. Either the compressor would overheat and we'd have to let it cool, or we'd overheat the hose and we'd burst that fitting, which happened many a times. And then you're sitting out there with a pocket knife and some tools trying to repair and that happened over and over and over and over. And I was kind of wondering how long this air hose would last. Well, I've put through, not only have I aired up mine many a times, but like I said, I usually end up doing about 3 vehicles every time we go out, 3 or 4. Yeah. So, anyways.
Yep. Yeah. We do a lot of, like I said, I'm usually on average out there 1, 2, 3 times a month, whether that's snow wheeling, whether that's summer rock crawling, whether that's just going on a weekend camping trip. So I go off-roading a lot and I pay my employees to go off-roading a lot too. I'm like, you guys get out of here, go up to the Sierras and reset, get out of the warehouse. And so all of us here have a huge passion for off-roading. So that translates to the products that we come out with too, because everything we come out with helps solve a pain point that not very many other people have done yet. So we're really trying to think outside the box of what else can be done to make off-roading fun and easier for everybody out there so that we can get more people back into the industry. I think that the heyday of off-roading was the 70s through 90s. And so now that we've, made it out and through COVID, where we had a huge boom and a huge spike, the more people that we can retain into the off-roading industry, the better the industry is going to become. The more voices we're going to have to keep trails open, to fight trail closures, get more off-roading parks. I know out on the East Coast, there's not a whole lot of public land to go off-roading in. Right. Whereas the West Coast, we have a ton of public lands to go off-roading in and trying to protect those lands so that we still get to use them for the future here.
There's big movements to try and shut these down, and you're right. The more voices we get, and so I'm going to put a small plug into to get involved in your local communities, and there's some great causes out there that donate towards helping to keep these trails open, and at that, be a good steward. When you're out on these trails, don't leave your trash and don't start making new trails all over. Take care of it so that there is less complaints, right?
Yep. Yeah. If you guys are interested in, anybody out there is interested in some interesting big movements going on right now to shut down land, look at the 30 by 30 initiative. Blue Ribbon Coalition is starting to work on that big time. And it's a really interesting initiative where they're trying to shut down 30% of the land in the United States. I don't know if it's public land. I'm pretty sure it's all land, wilderness land, by 2030. Wow. There's a lot of big fights. We just had a big fight out here in Pismo, and that one, we just had a huge win there, which was pretty awesome to see. And then there's, fights going on in Moab. We're looking at, have you done Metal Masher in Moab? How many people out there have done Metal Masher in Moab?
Metal Masher, yeah.
It's my favorite trail in Moab. And it may not be there in a couple of years. It's on one of the trails that's slated to get nixed from the trail inventory in the Gemini Bridges area. So it's there. I mean, then the whole thing at Sand Hollow recently too. I mean, it's all over the place. So the more people that we can keep in the industry, the better we can make off-roading for people. The more pain points we can remove. It's a big win for everybody out here.
I agree. Well,
Terry's question.
Oh yeah, Terry. So Terry wants to know, he's got a MORRFlate that's a year and a half old. Has there been any updates in that last year and a half?
Yeah, good question. I was actually just typing out a response to that. So just about right around that time, about a year and a half ago, we updated and designed our own air chucks. We found out, again, tiny little details that make a huge difference in how things function. We made the air chucks, the engagement depth way less, so they can work on any valve stem now, pretty much any depth that the threads are on the exterior of the valve stem. We made it a smaller OD on the body, so you can fit it in tighter places on wheels. We put a spring behind it so that it now has a usable check valve that closes every single time. 3 teeth locking collar design again, so that the teeth are not automatically engaged and wearing out your valve stem threads or the teeth over time. So there was a huge update that we did in R&Ding and designing those air chucks. And so those were a big change. And then the slide valves, we went away from that ball valve that you have on the manifolds. And that was about a year and a half away as well. And the nice thing about that is we just had a lot of people that either over-rotated, they didn't know their own strength and over-rotated their ball valve and snapped it off, or that lever would get caught on things. So it was just going to a slide valve is more ergonomic. It's simpler. It'll last a lot longer. So again, it doesn't have a wearable parts in it, just a couple O-rings that you need to make sure stay WD-40 or greased over time. So slide valve and the air chucks have been the biggest updates recently.
Very cool. Well, cool. Well, I think it's been very educational on air up and air down. And again, I think what you're doing is awesome. It's an awesome product. We look forward to seeing you out on the trail. Hopefully we see you on the Rubicon. We're shooting for that here in a few weeks. Looking forward to going and spending some cool time out in the. It's been hot here in Texas and a little dry, so I'm looking forward to getting to maybe some high altitude where it's a little wetter and cooler. So this will be a nice change, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited if we can make that trip happen because I should be getting my 4Runner back. I have a 2nd-gen 4Runner rock crawler that I'm linking front and rear and building some stupid custom axles for that. As far as I know, nobody's ever done before. And so I was just like, I love axles. I love gears. I love differentials. So I was like, let's do something stupid with it. And so I should be getting that by the end of August. So if we can make that trip.
I think you need to come along because Eric from Lone Star Axle is coming on the trip as well. I think the two of you would get along really well because he's a really awesome gear expert. So
you're gonna have some campfire talks.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
It'll be fun. So anyways, hopefully that happens. We're looking forward to it. And with that, I guess I didn't see any other questions that I missed. Tonight we don't have Justin. Justin's spending some time with the kids. He is watching tonight though, but he's on vacation with his kids. And so I'm getting to kind of run the show myself tonight. So hopefully I didn't make too many mess ups. But
I thought you did great.
Well,
but it's not over.
It's not over yet. No. But we do appreciate Tyler you coming on.
Thank you, Tyler.
It's very helpful. Looking forward to definitely getting that central air inflation system. Educating people is a big part of what we try and do too. So we appreciate that aspect of what you do and then also your volunteering and getting out there, being part of the community. So we appreciate it. I think that kind of brings everything up to date. If you guys missed the beginning of the show, go back and watch it. You'll want to see kind of what happened with us last week in our bronc busting.
Yes.
This time was bronc busting on the freeway at 80 miles an hour, and it was an exciting ride.
Talk about gears and differentials. Go check that one out. That picture.
Yeah, here I'll just. You'll have to go back and watch it, or wait until our video tomorrow. But I'm going to just give you a little preview of what you're going to get to see. If you missed the beginning, here's what happened, and there is a why to it. So, but it was a fun ride. But anyways, appreciate you coming on, Tyler, and we look forward to getting out on the trails with you. As always, guys, get out, make an adventure. We hope to see you out on the trails, and we'll see you next week. Or hopefully we'll see some of you guys in Tennessee in 2 days, because that's where we are headed tomorrow.
Check out our new videos, like and subscribe.
That's right. Got some new good content coming. So with that, we'll call it a night, and see you guys next week.